Hello, welcome to Jaye Anne Healing. I'm Jaye Anne. I'm your host. I'm very excited to be here today because we're going to talk all about sage and the wonderful properties of sage and burning sage and other types of plants. But before we get to that, please make sure that you're subscribed so you can learn every single thing I have to say about energy healing, healing that inner side of you that is hurt by organized religion, that is hurt by patriarchy, which has something to do with organized religion, which I talk about in my course, Healed Believers. So if there is some part of you that's like, I feel like I'm missing something, whether you're still going to the church or not, just make sure that you've completely healed those things so that you can work forward from a healed from a healed space instead of from a wounded space. And that's why I do what I do. So today we're going to talk about sage. But yeah, so make sure you're getting the notifications, make sure you're checking out my Pinterest, because that's another fun one that I like to use, and get on over to healedbelievers.com so that you can find that healing today for that part of you. Okay, so we're going to talk about sage and other plants, and I should have brought my other plants with me. So burning is called smudge. When you burn a plant in sacred intention, it's called smudging. And my mouth is getting very dry. So when you burn a plant with a sacred intention of clearing, it's called smudging. The types of plants that are the best for smudging have volatile oils in them. And so what they do is they clean the energy of the air. And a lot of people go, that's just woo-woo stuff. But I will tell you, it makes a big difference. And so what I do, or what I will tell you a story before I get started here. But when I was 25, 26, maybe, I worked for this very prestigious research facility, right? And I was dissected fruit flies. It was really fun because the place was really cool. But the work itself, was not very stimulating, right? It was great because I was able to do a lot of research in the form of like podcasts and stuff. But anyways, we had our annual Christmas party, which was like this over the top lavish party. And I already had social anxiety, right? And I still kind of do sometimes. But at that time, so it was like almost 10 years ago, I was like freaking out. I was just sitting there going, it's fine. It's cool. It's whatever. We don't have to go. I'll just skip it. And just a couple months beforehand, I had gone to this retreat, which they had a lady who showed us how to burn plants, and sacred smudge was the name of the class. And I was just like, I'm gonna go to this weird class. It's gonna be weird and God's gonna hate me. Please don't hate me too much. And when I went, there was just story after story after story of like how people felt better or how a space felt more clear and clean after they used this. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. So I had this party that I had to go to. And I was just like, I'm just not going to go. I had all these like thoughts going through my mind that I couldn't even hear. Looking back now, I recognize I was having these thoughts, but in the moment, it just felt like this static in my energy that I was just like, and I don't have to go. It's like this feeling like this. And I walked over to these plants that I had purchased for burning, and I just sat there and I was burning them. I was watching the smoke kind of swirl and swirl and swirl. And I was burning cedar, I was burning sage, and I was burning lavender. And I watched the smoke just do its thing. And I was burning these plants for like half an hour, just like worrying while burning these plants. And there was a point, because the whole time I'm like, I should stop. I should stop. We should just go. I should stop doing this and we should just go. I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I doing this? And after about half an hour of this moment of burning plants and panicking, I stopped what I was doing. I looked up and I was like, oh, we can go now. Like, anxiety was gone. I could not believe what just happened. And I went and I had such a great time. And of course, the next day, I was like, oh my God, I made such a fool of myself and I'm so embarrassing, and blah, blah. And I started burning plants again and I felt better about it. So there is something special about burning plants. This is something very special. So I have white sage. Other ones, like I mentioned before, were lavender, cedar, things that have very fragrant oils that you can burn. And so when we are smudging, some people like to call on the spirits, and some people like to call on specific entities. I like to call on my higher self, and also recognize nature, because nature gave us this plant. So in a lot of the more important traditional ways, and we're clearing so much, so I'm like so parched right now. So in a lot of the ancient ways, when we step into a sacred space, we're honoring the four directions, the four elements. They were honoring, above and below, things like that. So make sure that you are setting an intention. And what that means is like, why, like, what is it that you're coming to the plate to burn emotionally? And calling in those spirits and those guardians, really, because the four elements is they give us the material world. We can't have the material world without the four elements, right? Air, fire, water, and earth. Everything is made of earth. Air moves so that we can breathe. Fire is the thing that drives us and keeps us warm and gets our cars from place A to B. In water, we can't live without water. So being grateful for these things that we have is not the same thing as idolizing them. It's honoring them. Okay. So that's what we're doing. So we call in the four elements, and earth is usually the plant itself. We have a shell, which signifies water. And then a lot of times people will use a feather to move the energy around. That's air. And then fire. So we're going to set a short intention. We're clearing. Look at that already. So your intention is whatever it is that's really bothering you, that you want to burn. And it may be big, it may be small. If it's really, really big, it's not going to be instantaneous. It's going to take some time. It's like eating an elephant one bite at a time, right? So the energy clears sometimes slowly like that as well. There's a little song that I like. And it goes, earth, my body, water, my blood, air, my breath, and fire, my spirit. Earth, my body, water, my blood, air, my breath, and fire, my spirit. Oh, that's so cool. So normally I do this by myself or with my kids. but I can feel all of you just being present with me right now. It is just such a wonderful, just really powerful feeling right here. Thank you. So when we're smudging, we start either top down or bottom up. Oh gosh. Whew. So, and it's like painting. So you're just painting what's considered your aura with this. And it's just like clearing out any negative energy, anything that's no longer serving you. It's like taking a bath for your energy. And sometimes there's just like a little spot. It's like, oh, I'm going to leave this here for a little bit. I often find armpits tend to be a good place where people will need a little extra love and care, because we don't often raise our arms because we have this fear that, oh, I'm going to have pit stains or I'm going to be like stinky. So a lot of times people just keep their arms down to prevent anyone from seeing or smelling them. And so if you're here, like if you, it's like an energy shower, right? So just kind of really focus in on that area. And then make sure you get in between the legs. Get the back side too. I'm going to stand up and down, and then lift up your feet and get the other foot. And there it is. You have an energy shower. You're cleaned. I feel it every time. I feel a huge difference every single time I do this. And if this was all like woo-woo stuff that didn't mean anything and didn't do anything, I wouldn't feel better. It's not psychosomatic. There is a feeling that happens that is like, I am refreshed. Anxiety doesn't go away because you psychosomatically just burn some stuff, right? Like that makes no sense. So try it. If you are feeling like overwhelmed and frustrated, just burn something. Just go burn something. You might feel better. Like don't burn somebody's house, obviously. Like that's what I'm talking about. And definitely don't set a forest on fire, but like just get a little shell and a little bit dried something and just burn it and just set the intention and just clear and just pour your frustration into it. I promise you, you will feel better. You will. That's sage now. Yes. So another one that's really great is mugwort, and I'm looking over there because I can see my mugwort over there. I'm going to go grab it really quickly. Hold on a second. So this is a bundle of mugwort. And interesting thing about mugwort, it is native to the eastern United States. And I believe it's also very common in the Celtic tradition. So a lot of people like to use mugwort, people who are of European descent, because their ancestors probably would have used mugwort. White sage only grows in hot, dry areas. So it's not likely that my ancestors would have used sage. They probably would have used mugwort or maybe lavender. So some people feel a stronger connection to plants that their ancestors would have used. So keep that in mind as you're doing things. Cedar and lavender are great for that. You don't have to use sage. Sage is just the most common used one. And I've tried burning like culinary sage. It's not the same. It's a little weird. My mom thought I was smoking weed, which I was not. But yeah. Another really popular plant, which has a little bit of controversy around for the reasons I just talked about, is Palo Santo. I'm sorry, I'm like burping because people are clearing things. So I'm sorry if I make a lot of weird noises. So Palo Santo is native to South America. and I love the smell of it. It is like a woodsy mint, and when it burns, it's just like very minty fresh, and I love it. The concern that some people have is that it is not white people's traditional plant, and that some South American shamans have requested that white people not use it. So that's just a little bit of an aside there. I love Palo Santo. It's just like I feel so connected to it the minute. It's like, you ever have a time where there's a song that comes on and the first time you heard that song, you remember it. I remember where I was the first time I smelled Palo Santo, and I turned my head and I was like, what is that? And I was at a cacao ceremony, and the person who was running the ceremony was like, oh, it's just Palo Santo. And I was like, I must have some, like, I need that in my life. So that was really cool. And anyways, this is mugwort. Mugwort is a weed where I live. It grows literally everywhere. It's so easy for me to find, although I bought this bundle because I don't collect it and then dry it myself. So, but I bought this from somebody who's local to me, and what mugwort is known best for is sacred dream work. So if you put a little bit of mugwort under your pillow when you're sleeping, you will have the craziest dreams. I'm not kidding you. This is for real. Mugwort interacts with our energy so powerfully. And so when we burn mugwort, then we are really accessing that kind of psychedelic piece of ourselves. It's not a psychedelic, but it does elicit very vivid dreams. And mugwort is often used as the plant form, or the plant that makes what's called moxa. If you've ever been to an acupuncturist and they burn moxa, it's usually charcoaled and compounded mugwort. So this is what this is. And a lot of people will make a tea out of it. You can have it under your pillow and you can burn it. There's a lot of great ways to interact with mugwort. So we'll sing. Earth my body, water my blood, air my breath, and fire my spirit. This has a very different smell when it burns. So when you burn sage, it has like a little bit of a, not a minty smell, but there's a resin there. This is more of a burnt smell. So just keeping that in mind as well. And it doesn't burn as easily as sage does. Sometimes you gotta get it going like this. Yeah. So the reason that they put them in bundles like this is when you make this motion and you're moving it in the direction of the plants, it makes the fire, stokes the fire within it. So I don't know if you can see. Yeah. I had like one time a really big sage bundle that was like this tall and like this big around, and I was just doing this and it was just like, it was really cool. But yeah, mugwort is a beautiful plant. All right. Well, if you felt anything, I would love to see it. So I'd love for you to respond in the comments section here if you felt anything kind of come up for you. If you felt resonant on anything, or if you were like, I really want to use sage, can we do a class on it? I'd love to do that. I just love it. I love to see your face and like have you get your sage and like wind and, you know, whatever, and wave it around and stuff. So if you are feeling hesitant but optimistic, write that down in the comments. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. If you're afraid because it's scary and it's earth-based, I'd love to hear that too, because I understand where that's coming from. This was the scariest leap of my life when I first started burning sage. So I'm so grateful that it has been so abundant for me in the results. So, because if it wasn't, then I would still think it was evil, but it was such a huge relief for me. And I hope that for you too. But yeah, please check out my website and see what you like and what you want to interact with. Look at the courses. Healed Believers is up and running, and I am so in love with it. And we go through all kinds of different modules about burning sage like this and different tools like that. And I also talk about sex and how that kind of came about. So please go check it out, and I will talk to you later.